She accepted the job no one else would dare take, working for the notorious Ice King, a millionaire whose reputation for cruelty had left the position open for 3 long months. Lasted a week if you're lucky, people whispered. Yet against all odds, those became the best days of her life. Before we dive deeper, where are you watching from? Drop a comment below, and if you're already hooked, hit subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you won't want to miss. The sound of glass breaking echoed through the huge mansion as Maya Rodriguez stood in the doorway, her hands shaking. The man in front of her, Alexander Stone, the richest and meanest man in the city, had just thrown his expensive wine glass against the wall. His cold blue eyes were filled with anger, and his face was red with fury. "You're fired!" he screamed at the woman who was now crying and running past Maya toward the front door. "Get out of my house and never come back." Maya's heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. This was her first day at the job nobody wanted, working as the live-in helper for Alexander Stone, the man everyone called the Ice King. She had watched 3 people get fired in just the past 2 hours: the cook, the cleaner, and now the lady who took care of his clothes. All gone. Alexander turned around and saw Maya standing there. His angry eyes looked at her from head to toe. Maya felt like she wanted to run away, but she couldn't move. She needed this job more than anything in the world. "And who are you?" Alexander asked in a voice that was so cold, it made Maya feel like she was standing in a freezer. Maya took a deep breath. "I'm Maya Rodriguez, sir. I'm here for the job as your household manager." Alexander laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was mean and scary. "Another one? Do you know what happened to the last 15 people who tried to work for me?" "They all quit or got fired," Maya said quietly, but she didn't look away from his eyes. "That's right. And do you know why?" Maya shook her head. "Because they were all weak, lazy, and stupid. They couldn't handle working for me. I have rules and I expect them to be followed perfectly. I don't accept mistakes, I don't accept excuses, and I definitely don't accept failure." Alexander walked closer to Maya. He was very tall, and she had to look up to see his face. His black hair was perfectly styled, and his expensive suit looked like it cost more money than Maya had ever seen in her life. "Tell me, Maya Rodriguez," he said her name like it tasted bad in his mouth. "What makes you think you can do what 15 other people couldn't do?" Maya's hands were still shaking, but she thought about her sick mother at home. She thought about the bills that needed to be paid. She thought about how she had lost her last job and had been looking for work for 3 months. This job paid more money than she had ever dreamed of, but now she understood why. "Because I need this job, sir," Maya said, and her voice was stronger now. "And I'm not going to give up." Alexander stared at her for a long time. The broken glass was still on the floor, and the smell of spilled wine filled the air. Maya could hear her own breathing, and she wondered if he could hear her heart beating too. "Fine," Alexander said finally, "but let me make something very clear. You will live in this house. You will be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You will manage my schedule, my meals, my house, and everything else I need. You will not ask questions. You will not give me advice. You will not speak unless I speak to you first. And most importantly, you will stay out of my way." Maya nodded. "I understand, sir." "Do you?" Because the woman who just ran out of here said she understood too. She lasted exactly 4 hours. Alexander walked to his desk and picked up a thick folder. "These are my rules. There are 47 of them. You will memorize every single one by tomorrow morning. If you break even one rule, you're fired. If you're late for anything, you're fired. If you annoy me in any way, you're fired. Are we clear?" "Yes, sir." "Good. Mrs. Chen will show you to your room. Dinner is at exactly 7 o'clock. Not 1 minute before, not 1 minute after. 7 o'clock. An older woman appeared in the doorway. She looked tired and sad, and Maya wondered how long she had been working for Alexander. "Follow me," Mrs. Chen said softly. As Maya walked behind Mrs. Chen through the huge house, she looked around in amazement. Everything was perfect and expensive. The floors were shiny marble, the walls had beautiful paintings, and the furniture looked like it belonged in a palace. But something felt wrong. The house was too quiet, too cold, too Empty. "This is your room," Mrs. Chen said, opening a door. Maya gasped. The room was bigger than her entire apartment. It had a huge bed, a desk, a chair, and its own bathroom. There was even a small kitchen area with a refrigerator and microwave. "It's beautiful," Maya whispered. Mrs. Chen looked around the room with sad eyes. "Mr. Stone likes beautiful things. But be careful, Maya. Beautiful things can be dangerous in this house." "What do you mean?" Mrs. Chen walked closer to Maya and spoke very quietly. "Mr. Stone, he's not like other people. He's been hurt very badly, and now he hurts everyone around him. He doesn't mean to, but he can't help it. The last girl who had this job, she was sweet, just like you. She tried to help him, tried to make him smile, but he broke her heart so badly that she cried for days when she left." Maya felt scared, but also curious. What happened to her? "She fell in love with him," Mrs. Chen said. "And that's the most dangerous thing you can do in this house. Mr. Stone doesn't believe in love. He thinks it's a weakness, and he destroys anything he thinks is weak." Maya sat down on the bed. It was so soft she felt like she might sink into it. "Mrs. Chen, can I ask you something?" "Yes, dear." "Why do you stay here? If he's so mean, why don't you quit?" Mrs. Chen smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Because I've been here for 10 years, Maya, and I've seen things. I've seen who Mr. Stone really is when he thinks nobody is watching. He's not evil. He's just broken. Very, very broken." Before Maya could ask any more questions, Mrs. Chen looked at her watch. "Oh no, it's already 6:30. You need to get ready for dinner. Remember, exactly 7 o'clock. Maya looked at her reflection in the big mirror. Her long black hair was messy from the long day, and her simple dress looked cheap compared to everything else in the house. But she had to try. She had to make this work. She quickly brushed her hair and washed her face. Then she looked at herself in the mirror again. "You can do this, Maya," she whispered to herself. "You have to do this." At exactly 7 o'clock, Maya walked into the dining room. Alexander was already sitting at the head of a long table. He had changed into a different suit. This one was dark blue and looked even more expensive than the first one. "Sit," he said without looking at her. Maya sat down at the other end of the table. The table was so long that Alexander looked very far away. Mrs. Chen brought out the food. It smelled amazing, but Maya was too nervous to be hungry. They ate in complete silence. Maya was afraid to make any noise, even when she was chewing her food. Alexander ate quickly and perfectly, like he had practiced it 1,000 times. Finally, Alexander looked up at her. "Tomorrow morning, you will wake up at 5 o'clock. You will have my coffee ready by 5:30. It must be exactly the right temperature. Not too hot, not too cold. After that, you will prepare my schedule for the day. Then you will check every room in this house to make sure everything is perfect. Any questions?" "No, sir." "Good, and Maya?" "Yes, sir." Alexander's cold blue eyes looked straight at her. "Don't try to be my friend. Don't try to fix me. Don't try to make me happy. Just do your job and we'll get along fine." Maya nodded, but something inside her felt sad. She wondered what had happened to make him so cold and mean. After dinner, Maya went back to her room and opened the folder of rules. She read rule after rule, and each one made her more worried. No music in the house. No talking during meals unless asked a question. No touching anything in his office. No asking about his past. No inviting friends to visit. No. 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 Maya was reading rule number 31 when she heard something that made her stop. It was very quiet, but she could hear it through the walls. Someone was playing piano. The music was sad and beautiful, and it made Maya's heart feel heavy. She quietly opened her door and followed the sound. It was coming from a room at the end of the hall. The door was slightly open, and Maya could see inside. Alexander was sitting at a beautiful black piano. His cold, mean face was gone. Instead, he looked sad. Very, very sad. His fingers moved on the keys like he was telling a story, and the story was about loneliness and pain. Maya watched him play, and for the first time, she saw the real Alexander Stone. Not the mean millionaire who fired people and broke glasses. This was a man who was hurting so much that he could only show his feelings through music. She was so focused on watching him that she didn't see Mrs. Chen standing behind her. "He plays every night," Mrs. Chen whispered. "Same time, same sad songs. He's been doing it for 5 years." "Why?" Maya whispered back. "Because 5 years ago his wife died, and he's been punishing himself ever since." Maya's heart felt like it was breaking. She understood now why Alexander was so cold and mean. He wasn't a bad person. He was a person who was in so much pain that he couldn't let anyone get close to him. Suddenly, the music stopped. Alexander looked up, and his eyes met Maya's through the crack in the door. For just a moment, she saw surprise and something else. Something that looked like hope. But then his face became cold again. He stood up quickly and walked toward the door. Maya ran back to her room as fast as she could and closed the door behind her. A few minutes later, she heard Alexander's voice in the hallway. He was talking to Mrs. Chen, but Maya couldn't hear what they were saying. Then she heard his bedroom door close. Maya sat on her bed thinking about what she had seen. She thought about the broken man playing sad music in an empty house. She thought about Mrs. Chen's warning about not trying to fix him. And she thought about the job she needed so badly. But most of all, she thought about the moment when Alexander looked at her through the door. For just a second, she had seen something in his eyes that made her heart beat faster. Something that made her think that maybe, just maybe, the Ice King wasn't as frozen as everyone thought. Maya looked at the clock. It was already midnight, and she had to wake up at 5 o'clock. She needed to sleep, but her mind was full of questions. What had happened to Alexander's wife? Why did he blame himself? And why did she feel like she wanted to help him, even though Mrs. Chen had warned her not to? She finally fell asleep, but her dreams were filled with sad piano music and cold blue eyes that maybe, just maybe, weren't as cold as they seemed. The next morning would bring new challenges, new rules to follow, and new glimpses into the mystery of Alexander Stone. Maya didn't know it yet, but she was about to discover that the job nobody wanted would change her life forever. But first, she had to survive her first full day as the Ice King's household manager. And that was going to be harder than she ever imagined. Maya's eyes opened at exactly 4:59 a.m., 1 minute before her alarm was supposed to ring. Her heart was already racing as she remembered where she was and what she had to do. She jumped out of bed, quickly brushed her teeth, and ran to the kitchen to make Alexander's coffee. Her hands were shaking as she tried to remember exactly how Mrs. Chen had shown her to make it the night before. Not too hot, not too cold. 2 spoons of sugar, no more, no less. A tiny bit of cream, but not too much. At exactly 5:30 a.m., Maya knocked on Alexander's bedroom door. "Come in," his voice said from inside. Maya opened the door and almost dropped the coffee cup. Alexander was standing by the window, already dressed in a perfect black suit. His hair was perfectly styled, and he looked like he had been awake for hours. "Your coffee, sir," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. Alexander took the cup without saying thank you. He took a sip, and Maya held her breath. Please be right, she thought. Alexander's face didn't change. He didn't say it was good, but he didn't say it was bad either. "The schedule," he said. Maya handed him a piece of paper with his day written on it. She had stayed up until 2 a.m., making sure everything was perfect. 9 a.m., meeting with the bank president. 11 a.m., conference call with Tokyo. 1 p.m., lunch with city mayor. 3 p.m., board meeting. 6 p.m., dinner with business partners. Alexander looked at the schedule and nodded. "Fine. Make sure the car is ready at 8:45. And Maya?" "Yes, sir." "I noticed you were wandering around the house last night. Rule number 12 clearly states that you must stay in your room after 10 p.m. Don't let it happen again." Maya's cheeks turned red. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't want excuses. I want obedience." Alexander walked past her and out of the room. Maya stood there feeling embarrassed and confused. He had seen her watching him play piano, but he was pretending it didn't happen. The rest of the morning went by quickly. Maya checked every room in the house, making sure everything was perfect. She organized Alexander's papers, answered his phone calls, and made sure his meals were exactly right. But something strange was happening. Every time Maya was in the same room as Alexander, she felt like he was watching her. When she would look up, he would quickly look away. When she walked past him, he would become very still, like he was holding his breath. At lunchtime, Maya was in the kitchen helping Mrs. Chen prepare food when Alexander came in. This was strange because Alexander never came to the kitchen. "Mrs. Chen," Alexander said, "I need you to go to the store and buy more of that special tea I like." Mrs. Chen looked confused. "But sir, we have plenty of that tea. I just bought some yesterday." "Go buy more," Alexander said firmly. "Now." Mrs. Chen looked at Maya with worried eyes, but she took off her apron and left. Now Maya was alone in the kitchen with Alexander. The silence was so thick she could almost touch it. Maya kept working, cutting vegetables for dinner, but her hands were shaking. "You play piano," Alexander said suddenly. Maya stopped cutting and looked at him. What?" "Last night, when you were watching me through the door, you were moving your fingers like you were playing along with the music. You know how to play piano?" Maya's heart started beating faster. "A little bit. My grandmother taught me when I was young." "What can you play?" Maya didn't know if this was a trick question. Was he testing her? Was he trying to find a reason to fire her? "Just simple songs, nothing fancy." Alexander walked closer to her. "Show me." "Sir?" "There's a piano in the music room. Show me what you can play." Maya put down the knife. "But sir, I have to finish making lunch and..." "The lunch can wait. Show me now." Maya had no choice. She followed Alexander to the music room where she had seen him playing the night before. The black piano looked even more beautiful in the daylight. It was huge and shiny, and Maya was afraid to touch it. "Sit," Alexander said, pointing to the piano bench. Maya sat down and looked at the keys. Her hands were shaking so much she didn't think she could play anything. "I don't know if I remember how," she said quietly. "Try." Maya took a deep breath and put her fingers on the keys. She started playing a simple song that her grandmother had taught her when she was 7 years old. It was called "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." The song was soft and sweet, and it reminded Maya of happy times with her grandmother. As she played, Maya forgot about being scared. She forgot about the rules and about trying to be perfect. She just played the music and let it fill the room with something warm and happy. When she finished, the room was quiet. Maya looked up at Alexander. His cold blue eyes were staring at her, but they didn't look cold anymore. They looked surprised. "Where did you learn to play like that?" he asked. "Like what?" "I told you, my grandmother taught me." "No, I mean, with so much feeling. Most people just play the notes. You play the story." Maya didn't know what to say. She had never thought about it that way before. "Play something else," Alexander said. "Sir, I really should go finish lunch." "Play something else." Maya played another song, this one sadder and slower. As she played, she noticed that Alexander sat down in a chair nearby. He was listening very carefully, like the music was telling him something important. When she finished, Alexander was quiet for a long time. "My wife used to play piano," he said finally. Maya's heart jumped. Mrs. Chen had said that Alexander's wife died 5 years ago, but he never talked about her. "She was very good," Alexander continued. "Much better than me. She could play any song just by hearing it once. She would sit at this piano for hours, playing happy songs that made the whole house feel alive." Maya didn't know what to say. She had never heard Alexander talk about anything personal before. "What happened to her?" Maya asked softly. Alexander's face immediately became cold again. "That's none of your business." "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean..." "You're not supposed to ask personal questions. That's rule number 18. Alexander stood up quickly. "Go finish lunch, and don't mention this conversation to anyone." Maya stood up too. "Yes, sir." But as she walked toward the door, Alexander called her name. "Maya." She turned around. You play beautifully. Your grandmother taught you well." Maya felt her heart flutter. It was the first nice thing Alexander had ever said to her. "Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir." That afternoon, Maya couldn't stop thinking about what had happened in the music room. Alexander had looked so different when he was listening to her play. For a few minutes, he hadn't seemed like the Ice King at all. He had seemed like a regular person who was sad and lonely. At dinner time, Maya was surprised when Alexander didn't eat in silence like he had the night before. Instead, he asked her questions. "How long have you been looking for work?" he asked. 3 months, sir." Why did you lose your last job? Maya hesitated. The company I worked for went out of business. What kind of work was it? I was a secretary at a small law office. I answered phones, organized files, made appointments. Alexander nodded. And your family? Do you have family? Maya thought about her mother, who was sick and needed expensive medicine. I have a mother. She's not well. I'm sorry to hear that. Maya looked up at him in surprise. Alexander had said he was sorry about her mother. The Ice King had shown kindness. After dinner, Maya was cleaning the kitchen when Mrs. Chen came back from her strange trip to the store. How did it go today? Mrs. Chen asked. Maya told her about the piano and about Alexander asking her personal questions. Mrs. Chen listened with wide eyes. Maya, Mrs. Chen said when she finished, you have to be very careful. I've never seen Mr. Stone act like this before. He's starting to care about you. That's good, isn't it? No, dear, that's very dangerous. The last time Mr. Stone cared about someone, it destroyed him. If he starts to have feelings for you, he'll try to push you away. He'll become meaner and colder than ever before. Maya felt confused. But why? Because he's terrified of losing someone he cares about again. He'd rather be alone and miserable than risk having his heart broken. That night, Maya lay in bed thinking about everything that had happened. She thought about the way Alexander had looked when she played piano. She thought about him saying her grandmother had taught her well. She thought about him asking about her mother. But most of all, she thought about Mrs. Chen's warning. Was Alexander really starting to care about her? And if he was, what would happen next? Maya was almost asleep when she heard the piano music again. But tonight it sounded different. It wasn't just sad anymore. Tonight there was something else in the music, something that sounded almost like hope. Maya got up and quietly walked to the music room. This time she didn't hide by the door. She walked right in. Alexander saw her come in, but he didn't stop playing. He looked at her and kept playing the beautiful, sad music. I know I'm breaking the rules, Maya said softly, but I couldn't help it. The music is too beautiful to ignore. Alexander's hand stopped moving on the keys. You should go back to your room. I know, but I don't want to. Alexander stared at her for a long moment. Maya, you don't understand. I'm not a good man. I'm cold and mean and broken. You should stay away from me. Maybe, Maya said, walking closer to the piano. But I think you're wrong about being broken. I think you're just hurt, and hurt people can heal. Not me, Alexander said, his voice full of pain. I can't be fixed. Maya sat down on the piano bench next to him. Play with me, she said. What? Play with me. You take the low notes, I'll take the high ones. Alexander looked at her like she was crazy. Maya, this is not appropriate. I'm your employer. You're my employee. We can't… Just for tonight, Maya said. Just this once. Alexander looked at her for a long time. Then slowly, he put his hands back on the keys. Maya put her hands on the keys too, and together they played a song that was both sad and beautiful, dark and light, broken and whole. As they played, Maya felt something change in the room. The cold, empty feeling was gone. Instead, there was warmth and connection, and something that felt like magic. When the song ended, Alexander and Maya were sitting very close together. Maya could smell his cologne and feel the warmth from his body. Alexander was looking at her with eyes that were no longer cold. They were warm and confused and full of something that looked like longing. Maya, Alexander whispered. Yes? You're going to break my heart. No, Maya said softly. I'm going to help you fix it. Alexander reached out and touched her face gently. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. For a moment, it seemed like Alexander might kiss her. Maya could see the want in his eyes, could feel the electricity between them. But then he pulled his hand away and stood up quickly. This can't happen, he said. I won't let it happen. Alexander, go to your room, now. Maya stood up too. You can't keep pushing people away forever. Watch me. Maya walked to the door, but before she left, she turned back to him. The music we just played together. Maya woke up the next morning feeling happy for the first time in months. She hummed softly as she made Alexander's coffee, remembering the beautiful music they had played together. She thought about the way he had looked at her, the way he had almost kissed her, the way his eyes had been warm instead of cold. But when she knocked on Alexander's bedroom door at 5:30 a.m., everything changed. "You're late," Alexander said coldly when she walked in. He was standing by the window, but he didn't turn around to look at her. Maya looked at her watch. It was exactly 5:30. "Sir, I'm right on time. I said you're late. When I say 5:30, I mean 5:29. Not 5:30, not 5:31, 5:29. Maya felt confused. Yesterday, he had been asking her about her family and complimenting her piano playing. Today, he was being meaner than ever. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll remember that." "Will you? Because you've already broken 3 rules since you got here. You were wandering around the house after 10 p.m. again. You used my piano without permission, and you spoke to me like we were friends instead of employer and employee." Maya's heart sank. "Sir, you asked me to play piano. You said, I don't care what I said. I'm telling you what the rules are now. Rule number 48. You are not allowed to touch the piano. Ever. Rule number 49. You are not allowed to speak to me unless I ask you a direct question. Rule number 50. You will address me as Mr. Stone at all times. Not sir, not Alexander, Mr. Stone." Maya felt like crying, but she held back her tears. "Yes, Mr. Stone." "Good, now get out of my sight." Maya left the room feeling like she had been punched in the stomach. What had happened? Why was Alexander being so cruel to her? Had she done something wrong? The rest of the day was a nightmare. Alexander found fault with everything Maya did. Her coffee was too hot. Her schedule was messy. Her clothes were too bright. Her voice was too loud. She walked too slowly. She breathed too loudly. By lunchtime, Maya had been yelled at 6 times. By dinner time, she had been yelled at 12 times. And each time, Alexander's voice got colder and meaner. "Maya," Mrs. Chen said quietly when they were alone in the kitchen. "What happened?" "Mr. Stone is being worse than I've ever seen him." Maya told her about the piano music and about Alexander's sudden change in behavior. Mrs. Chen listened with sad eyes. "Oh dear," Mrs. Chen said. "I was afraid this would happen. He's scared, Maya. He's terrified of the feelings he's having for you. So he's trying to make you hate him." "Well, it's working," Maya said, wiping tears from her eyes. "Don't let him win," Mrs. Chen said firmly. "If you give up now, he'll go back to being the lonely, bitter man he was before. But if you fight for him, if you show him that you're not going to run away, maybe he'll remember what it feels like to be human." That night at dinner, Alexander was silent again. But this time, it wasn't comfortable silence. It was angry, tense silence. Maya could feel his eyes on her, but every time she looked up, he would look away quickly. "Mr. Stone," Maya said carefully, "is there anything I can do to improve my work?" Alexander looked at her with cold eyes. "Yes, you can quit." Maya felt like he had slapped her. "I don't want to quit, Mr. Stone." "Why not? 15 other people have quit. What makes you so special?" Maya took a deep breath. "Because I think you need me." Alexander laughed that mean, scary laugh again. "Need you? I don't need anyone. I'm Alexander Stone. I have more money than I can spend in 10 lifetimes. I have houses around the world. I have everything I could possibly want. Why would I need you?" "Because you're lonely," Maya said quietly. The room became very quiet. Alexander's face turned red with anger. "How dare you," he said in a voice that was so cold it made Maya shiver. "You don't know anything about me. I know that you play sad music every night. I know that you live in a beautiful house, but it feels empty. I know that you push people away because you're afraid of getting hurt again." Alexander stood up so fast that his chair fell over. "You're fired." Maya's heart stopped. "What?" "You heard me. You're fired. Pack your things and get out of my house." Maya stood up too. She was shaking, but not from fear. She was shaking from anger and sadness and frustration. "No," she said. "Excuse me. I said no, I'm not leaving." Alexander looked shocked. "I'm firing you. You don't have a choice." "Yes, I do. And I choose to stay." "Security will throw you out." "Then call them. But I'm not leaving just because you're scared." Alexander walked around the table toward her. His eyes were blazing with anger. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. I could destroy your life. I could make sure you never get another job anywhere. I could..." You could do all of those things, Maya interrupted, but you won't, because deep down you're not a cruel man. You're just a hurt man who's pretending to be cruel. Alexander was standing very close to her now. She could see the anger in his eyes, but she could also see something else. Pain. Deep, terrible pain. You want to know what happened to my wife? Alexander said in a voice that was shaking with emotion. She died because of me. She died because I was too busy with work to pay attention to her. She was sick for months and I didn't notice. I was too busy making money and building my empire to see that the woman I loved was dying right in front of me. Maya felt tears in her eyes. Alexander, don't, he said harshly. Don't you dare feel sorry for me. I don't deserve it. I let the only person I ever loved die because I was selfish and stupid and blind. It wasn't your fault, Maya said softly. Yes, it was. And that's why I can't let anyone get close to me again, because I destroy everything I touch. Maya reached out and took his hand. He tried to pull away, but she held on tight. You didn't destroy me, she said. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. Alexander looked at their joined hands, and for a moment, his face softened. Maya, you don't understand. I'm not good for you. I'm not good for anyone. Let me decide that for myself. Alexander pulled his hand away. Number, I won't let you ruin your life for me. And I won't let you ruin your life because you're too afraid to live it. They stared at each other for a long moment. Maya could see the war going on inside Alexander's mind. Part of him wanted to let her stay. Part of him wanted to trust her. But a bigger part of him was terrified. If I let you stay, Alexander said finally, if I let you work here, things have to change. What do you mean? I mean, we pretend that last night never happened. We pretend that we're just employer and employee, nothing more. Maya felt her heart breaking. Alexander, those are my terms. Take them or leave them. Maya looked at him for a long time. She could see how much it was hurting him to say these words. She could see that he wanted to be close to her, but was too afraid to take the risk. Fine, she said finally, but I have terms too. Alexander looked surprised. What terms? You stop being unnecessarily cruel to me. You stop making up rules just to make my life difficult. And you stop treating me like I'm stupid. And in return, I'll be the best employee you've ever had. I'll follow your rules. I'll do my job perfectly, and I'll pretend that I don't care about you. Alexander studied her face. You can do that. I can try. They shook hands and Maya felt electricity shoot through her arm where their skin touched. She could tell that Alexander felt it too, because he pulled his hand away quickly. Good, Alexander said, his voice businesslike again. Tomorrow we start fresh. Professional. Distant. Professional and distant, Maya agreed. But as Alexander walked away, Maya whispered to herself, but I never said I'd stop fighting for you. The next morning, Maya woke up determined to prove that she could be the perfect employee. She made Alexander's coffee exactly right. She had his schedule ready. She checked every room in the house. She did everything perfectly. And Alexander kept his word too. He wasn't cruel to her. He was polite and professional. He said please and thank you. He didn't yell at her or find fault with everything she did, but Maya could tell that it was hard for him. She could see him watching her when he thought she wasn't looking. She could see him start to smile when she said something funny, then catch himself and become serious again. For 3 days, they maintained this professional distance. Maya did her job perfectly, and Alexander treated her with cold politeness. But the tension between them was growing stronger every day. On the 4th day, everything changed. Maya was in Alexander's office organizing his papers when his phone rang. Alexander answered it, and Maya could tell immediately that something was wrong. What do you mean the deal fell through? Alexander said into the phone. His voice was angry and worried. Maya tried not to listen, but she couldn't help hearing Alexander's side of the conversation. That's impossible. I had a signed contract. What? When? How much money are we talking about? $50 million? Maya looked up in shock. $50 million was more money than she could even imagine. Alexander hung up the phone and put his head in his hands. For a moment, he looked like a broken man. Mr. Stone, Maya said carefully, is everything okay? Alexander looked up at her. His face was pale, and his eyes looked scared. Number, everything is not okay. I just lost $50 million because someone I trusted lied to me. Maya felt terrible for him. I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do to help? Alexander laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. Unless you have $50 million in your pocket, I don't think so. Maya wished she could help him. She wished she could make everything better. But she was just a household manager. What could she do? Maybe, Maya said slowly, maybe you should call your lawyer or your accountant. Maybe there's something they can do. Alexander looked at her with surprise. That's actually a good idea. I was so angry I wasn't thinking clearly. He picked up the phone and started making calls. Maya continued organizing his papers, but she was listening to his conversations. She could tell that Alexander was smart and powerful, but he was also worried and stressed. After an hour of phone calls, Alexander hung up the phone and looked at Maya. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For reminding me to think instead of just react. My lawyer thinks we might be able to get some of the money back." Maya smiled. "I'm glad I could help." For a moment, they looked at each other, and Maya saw something warm in Alexander's eyes, something that looked like gratitude and maybe even affection. But then Alexander remembered their agreement. His face became cold and professional again. "Yes, well," he said, "thank you for your assistance. You can go back to your other duties now." Maya felt disappointed, but she nodded. "Of course, Mr. Stone." As she walked to the door, Alexander called her name. "Maya?" She turned around. You're very good at your job." It was a small compliment, but it made Maya's heart flutter. "Thank you, Mr. Stone." That evening, Maya was in her room reading when she heard the piano music again. But tonight, it sounded different. It still sounded sad, but there was something else in it too. Something that sounded like hope. Maya made a decision. She got up and walked to the music room. This time, she didn't hide by the door. She walked right in. Alexander saw her and stopped playing. "Maya, we agreed." "I know what we agreed," Maya said, "but I think you could use a friend right now." Alexander looked at her for a long moment. "I don't have friends." "Maybe it's time to start." Alexander stared at her, and Maya could see the loneliness in his eyes. She could see how much he wanted to let her in, how much he wanted someone to talk to. "One conversation," Alexander said finally. "Just one. And then you go back to your room and we pretend this never happened." Maya nodded and sat down in the chair next to the piano. "Tell me about your wife." Alexander's hands tightened on the piano keys. "Her name was Sarah. She was beautiful and kind and patient. She loved music and flowers and terrible romantic movies that made her cry." "How did you meet her?" "At a charity event. She was playing piano for the guests, and I couldn't stop listening to her. She played the same way you do, with her whole heart." Maya felt a pang of jealousy, but she pushed it away. "She sounds wonderful." She was. She was too good for me, but somehow she loved me anyway. For 5 years, she made me feel like I was worth something. Like I was more than just money and business deals. Alexander's voice was getting quieter, more painful. "When she got sick, I thought she was just tired. She kept saying she was fine, and I believed her because it was easier than admitting that something might be wrong. By the time we found out it was cancer, it was too late." Maya felt tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry." She died holding my hand, and her last words were, "Don't give up on love, Alex. Promise me you won't give up on love." Alexander looked at Maya with eyes full of pain. "But I did give up on love. I gave up on everything, because loving someone and losing them hurts so much that I never want to feel anything again."